In today's video, we're looking at the latest trade talk around the NHL. We have some updates on the Ottawa Senators and Jacob Chychrun. Is he actually wanting out of Ottawa? What's the latest status on teams inquiring? Where could this go? We also have some updates on some goaltending moves as well, including Elvis Merzlikins. Where are things at with his trade request? And could the Predators actually move Jusse Saros? We'll discuss that, plus news from the NHL waiver wire and some significant injury updates, including Jared Spurgeon being out for the year, plus more on Corey Perry. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a lot to cover in today's video. Let's kick things off first with news from the NHL waiver wire. We had news from the waiver wire yesterday. The Calgary Flames have placed forward Walker Dufour on waivers. I thought he might get picked up, but he did indeed clear today. So he's been reassigned down to the American Hockey League. The Columbus Blue Jackets today placed goaltender Spencer Martin on waivers. So lots of teams in the hunt for goaltending depth. I do wonder if Martin could get claimed. It's difficult to say, but clearly with the Blue Jackets having Merzlikins and Tarasov and Martin, I know that was part of the issue with Elvis, was that he didn't want to be a third-string goaltender, doesn't really want to be a second-string goaltender. So with Martin being either demoted or picked up, depending on how things go with waivers in the next 24 hours, then he'll at the very least be dressed regularly, and we'll get more chances to start. If they're going to have to, in order for them to trade him, they're going to have to play him more and let him, have better, hopefully have some better results to get teams intrigued, because that's going to be part of what we're going to talk about here a little bit later as well. Some significant injury updates, including the Minnesota Wild and their captain Jared Spurgeon, who's already been out and missed time this year, but now he's done for the rest of the season. Jared Spurgeon is going to require 2 surgeries. He's going to have hip and back surgery. If all goes well, they do believe by doing this now that he'll be ready for training camp in the fall. If he tried to make a comeback and tried to play through things and put this off, he likely would be missing time next year. And does it really make sense? Considering where the Wild are at in the standings, I don't know that it does. So obviously it makes more sense to take care of his health now. Obviously he's early in a long-term contract, the captain of the team. It's been a tough year in Minnesota, so we'll see where everything goes. Hopefully he can have a full recovery and be the same player he was before. He's going to be, I believe, having the hip surgery first, and then the back surgery will come about 4 weeks later, I believe, is the latest I saw from local reporters there. So certainly not the news they were hoping for. It's expected that the Minnesota Wild and general manager Bill Guerin will likely attempt to pick up another defenseman, either if there's one on waivers or via trade. Probably something like we saw when they got Bogosian. Nothing, high end. Somebody who can be, a 5, 6, 7 type of guy that they might be able to pick up for a cheap price. So certainly look for the Wild to be active in that sense, trying to add in the blue line. And they're only going to want to add somebody who's only signed for this year, preferably, because obviously the plan for Spurgeon is to be back next year. So to not conflict with their salary cap, be best if they could basically pick up a veteran, rental for the rest of the year, so to speak, just to make sure that they're having ample, experienced players playing and they don't have to push any prospects further than they need to. Now, another update as well, pretty significant, is Vegas Golden Knights center Jack Eichel. We knew he had a surgical procedure, and we knew that he was listed as day-to-day, but we learned more. Not day-to-day, sorry, he was listed as week-to-week. But we did learn more today. It was a knee procedure, and the typical recovery time is 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm not sure why they really said week-to-week. To me, that's a little bit misleading. That makes you think that at least 1 week, maybe 2, but no, it's a 4 to 6 week recovery. So he's probably looking at being well into February, probably the second half, near the end of the February, before he can come back. So hopefully, Vegas has been on a bit of a tailspin lately, along with the Kings in the Pacific Division. That does not bode well for them. Hopefully they can find their way out of it, but he's not the only problem, not the only injury they're dealing with. Shea Theodore is still about 3 or 4 weeks from being able to come back, and William Karlsson won't be back till after the All-Star break. So, they've hit the injury bug in Vegas, and it's certainly having its impact on them. The Buffalo Sabres today announced that Dylan Cousins is day-to-day with an upper body injury, and the Devils have retroactively placed Brendan Smith on injured reserve as well due to a sprained right knee. And another notable lineup change for tonight, the Ottawa Senators are healthy scratching defenseman and veteran Travis Hamonic. I've been saying for a while that really he's been he's earned this healthy scratch, so to speak. I mean, the whole decor in Ottawa has had their share of struggles this year. But to be fair, Hamonic is just, why they give him a 2-year contract with a no-move clause was baffling. I know some of the other moves that Pierre Dorion did that appeared good at the time are not looking so good now. And that was a head scratcher from the beginning. I understand why they were interested in maybe bringing him back, but to be honest, I would have done no more than 1 year, not 2, and I wouldn't have given him a no-move clause. And if he didn't want to take that, I would have moved on. You could easily replace what he brings. Now, he does give you hard minutes. He's willing to block shots, and good veteran leader. There are some things to like about him, but he's taken a step back and regressed in his play. The whole time he's been in Ottawa, it's not like he's been amazing, but he's even a step further back than when he was when he first got there, and they need to play some other guys ahead of him. So Bernard Docker's getting back in the lineup tonight, and we'll see where that goes and how long the healthy scratch will last for Hamonic. Some updates on Corey Perry. I know TSN analyst Mike Johnson was saying on a local, I believe it was a Oilers-based podcast with, I believe it was Ryan Rashog, that he feels Corey Perry is likely going to have upwards of a dozen offers and suspects he's going to be in the NHL sometime within the next 10 days. We know the Oilers are a team that's heavily interested amongst others, but obviously they were talking about Perry and the Oilers interest there on the podcast. So I'm not sure if Johnson's going more on a gut feel or more some intel that he may have inside knowledge of. And really, like I said, it's not a surprise to hear that Corey Perry has a fair bit of interest, and it's no surprise to hear that he's likely going to be signing soon. But to get him back in the NHL within the next 10 days, to me, seems reasonable. Obviously, teams that are interested probably want to get him in the lineup sooner than later, so he has time to be acclimated with his teammates and make sure that he's ready when the playoffs come. If the longer layoff he has, the more it's going to take him to get things back. So we'll see where that goes. On the trade rumor front today, we want to look at some updates on Jacob Chychrun in Ottawa, as well as a couple of goaltenders. Let's start with Elvis Merzlikins and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Of course, he himself announced to the media very publicly not long ago that he did indeed request a trade. We knew that he had said before that he and the Jackets were working together to find a new change of scenery and that he was open to it, but then it went from that to, no, I really want to get me out of here type of request. He wasn't happy with his playing time. They were giving Tarasov an ample opportunity to run with the goaltending job to see what they had for the future, and he wasn't enjoying that very much. He says he's still a number one. Problem is he hasn't been playing like it, and he's got a $5.4 million contract for 3 more years. So it's tough to move. Like I suggested before, the only potential swap I see would be a Jack Campbell for Elvis Merzlikins trade, because they have same term and very similar money. The Oilers and Jackets are in similar predicaments with those guys. Maybe they change organizations and see if it works. Outside of that, it's going to be very, very challenging. I know on TSN's Insider Trading, Pierre LeBrun talked about Elvis Merzlikins this week, saying that it's kind of tough right now, that there's not much of a market out there. There's a very limited, weak interest in this player, and it's not so much, I don't think, that they absolutely don't like the player. They don't like the contract more than anything. I think he has high confidence, believes in himself, has a great story. He's proven before he's a good goalie. Like, I have no doubt he could get back to that in the right scenario, but it's tough, right? So I don't know if the Blue Jackets would consider a buyout in the offseason if a deal doesn't materialize, because that is a long-term commitment on the cap. There would be some initial savings, but it would hurt down the road. So I don't know if that's something they're willing to choke down. But at the end of the day, if he becomes a free agent, I have no doubt in the offseason he'll be able to get on another team and sign somewhere. But an Elvis Merzlikins trade before the trade deadline is probably, I'm not saying it's impossible, but outside of a swap for Campbell or something like that, where it's a bad contract for bad contract, it seems unlikely. LeBrun said that he felt that for him to get the change of scenery that he's looking for, more than likely going to have to be in the summertime. So we'll have to see where that goes. If he can get some starts here and play more in the next month before the deadline, and if he plays well and gets some attention, maybe things change. But that's where things stand as of right now. And in Nashville, there's some talk, and this also comes from Pierre LeBrun of TSN, that at the very least they are willing to listen on Jusse Saros. Now, up until now, the intel on the Predators and Barry Trotz and what he'll do with Saros, because he is entering the final year of his deal, that they fully intend on signing Saros. that it wasn't the intent to trade the player. Now, we know that they've retooled a bit this offseason. You can't really say they're rebuilding, but they're definitely making changes and retooling. They do have a young up-and-coming goalie in Askarov, who's been really good in the minors. It's going to challenge Saros soon enough for that job. Obviously having Saros there allows him to keep developing and percolating in the minors and easing his way in here. But at some point, they need to give him a chance, or he's going to want to move, right? Because he's earned a chance to be an NHL goaltender, I think, at this point. It's not far off from them having to do that. And really, at the end of the day, they either move, if they sign Saros to an extension, let's say they sign him for 4, 5, 6 years or something long term, that's going to really eat into this young kid's playing time. So they have decisions to make. So the way LeBrun put it on TSN Insider Trading was, as much as they're still their preference, their intent is to talk about an extension and sign him, they feel like they absolutely have to listen on a trade because of the goaltender market and the way it is and the number of teams that need help in that position. That they feel that there just might be an offer that comes along that's too good to pass up, and if that does happen, they're willing to do it, or at least willing to consider doing it. So it's difficult to say. It's far from a guarantee that he does move, but the fact is, if a team wants to make a serious offer, they certainly will do it. Like he mentions the LA Kings being a potential target, and that to me makes sense. Obviously their depth has been challenged with Phoenix Copley being out for the year. Talbot had a great start to the year, but hasn't been as good lately. It's only on a 1-year deal. If they could get themselves a stud goalie like Saros, that would really solidify them, I think, and really help push them to be more of a cup contender. Obviously, that would be huge for them. And those teams have done deals before. They have lots of interesting assets they could maybe throw at Nashville as to intrigue them. Now, Pierre LeBrun, not to say that he had any intel on what a trade would look like, but he said, for example, if the Kings are willing to dangle Byfield, then that will get their attention and might pull off a deal. As much as that's probably what the Preds are going to want, something along those lines. They're going to want a young impact player. But I don't know that the Kings are going to want to go there. As much as they'd love to have Saros, that's a big price tag. An interesting concept, an interesting idea. Great fit otherwise. I just don't know that they would do that. If that's what it's going to take, they may look elsewhere. We'll see. But unless an offer like that comes along, they probably won't move them. But if a team wants to pony up a big time young player, then they'll certainly listen for sure. And in Ottawa, there's been conflicting reports around what they're going to do. So Jacob Chychrun has been a hot topic around Ottawa media. And there's some people that have connections to the team that feel that, like I said, the reports in the last 24 to 48 hours were that he, as much as he has connections to Ottawa, of course, his father's family is from the area. Like tonight, he was doing the ceremonial face-off against Montreal Canadiens because it's the Do It for Darren fundraiser night. And obviously, the Richardson family is obviously what that's connected to. And the Chycruns and the Richardsons are related. So there's lots of connections to the local area for Chychrun. And I know when he was in Arizona looking to get out, it was rumored for some time that he would absolutely love to go to the Ottawa Senators because of the hometown connection. There's pictures of him as a kid wearing Senators jerseys. Obviously it was important for him to be able to, he's a big family guy, and to be able to play in front of his grandpa and, who he's very close to was a big deal. And he had a great start to his time there. And unfortunately, the team didn't take the step it was supposed to or expected to this year. And I can understand why the team and some of the players might be, it's wearing on him. There's no doubt. But the word is that he's the allure of playing at home is kind of wearing off, and that he may not want to re-sign. He's got one more year in his contract, so they can start talking extension as early as this summer if they want to. The initial reports in the past week were that they're in no hurry to trade him. If the team wants to offer up a huge offer, of course they're going to listen, and maybe they do it. Otherwise, the plan right now is for them to wait for the summer, engage talks around he and his agent on an extension, see what it looks like, and see what makes sense. And obviously they have 3 left shot D, including Chabot and Sanderson. And, one of them could move. Sanderson's the only one for sure that's not going anywhere. As the other 2, it is possible at some point one of them moves on. Hard to say. But yeah, and then other people were saying that he's not happy and that there's a bit of a locker room divide. It's like, you know what? They're losing. I'm sure there's lots of grumpy players and are not having fun right now. That's normal. But yesterday, when all this was kind of picking up steam, Jacob Chychrun made an Instagram post that kind of, to me at least, kind of changed my mind. He was in a recent local magazine in Ottawa, Faces magazine. He was on the cover and the big story in the most recent publishing, and he decided of all days yesterday to post that on his Instagram because the issue has been out for a little while, and to thank them for the article and everything. And in this article, he went on and on about how much he loved Ottawa. So like, I think this is kind of his way of kind of saying like, hey, I don't know, I know there's a lot of like, talk about me not liking it here, but here it is. Like I've said very differently publicly. So I honestly don't know what to believe when it comes to Chychrun. We'll see. I think honestly, when teams are struggling, other teams are going to prey on them, and they're going to call and try to see what they're thinking on certain players. You have a new owner, a new GM. Of course, they're going to gauge the market on their players. They have to listen, because if they find something that makes the team better, it doesn't matter. They have to consider it. They're just doing their jobs. And yeah, Chychrun's a player that people are going to call about. He is not signed long-term yet, right? He's still down to this year, one more year. Of course, they're going to get interest, and they're going to listen. I think that's probably as far as it goes. I honestly think the reports that were originally saying that they'll listen. If an offer blows them away, they may have to do it. Otherwise, they'll talk to him about an extension in the summer and make a decision at that point. I don't think they're in any hurry. They give up a big price to get him. I think he's been a great player for them. And if it were me and I had to move a left shot defenseman, I would move Thomas Chabot. And I've been a huge Thomas Chabot fan the whole time he's been a Senator. I watched him play junior not far from me here in St. John as a Sea Dog. Love the guys, fantastic player, but he's regressed. And to me, he has not earned his contract. If they can find a way to move Chabot and sign Chychrun, I don't think Chychrun's going to come in as quite as expensive as Chabot. So I think he could be the replacement and be a little cheaper on top of that. So to me, that's the better way to go. Time will tell. We'll see. Obviously, moving a longer-term deal like Chabot, I think he's got 4 years left. So that's a little harder to do. So we'll see what happens. Still lots of time left, and there'll be lots to talk about the Senators since they're not doing as well this year. So let me know your thoughts on all today's news and rumors down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.